Now to our next conversation. Well, Japa seems to have become an accepted word now. Many young and skilled Nigerians have relocated to other parts of the world, like the UK, US, Canada, in search of greener pastures. Have you ever thought of who will fill the employment they are leaving behind and the impact it's having on business corporations? Well, joining us now is Ms. Bumi Lawson, MD founder, Edfin Microfinance Bank. Join us via Zoom. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
looking at so much talk about, talents leaving, the country, even though we're seeing mass layoffs out there. Can you paint a picture how SMEs here are affected by this new trend?
Yeah, thank you very much. SMEs are greatly affected. From the studies, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics reports that SMEs contribute 48% to the national GDP and employ over 60% of our youth, as well as the labor force, especially in the area of agri. And when you see a lot of staff leaving, SMEs who are not able to pay high salaries, the competitive rate that the bigger salaries are, tend to lose good staff and are not able to replace them. So that affects productivity, the success of SMEs, and so on and so forth. So what happens, especially in sectors that have to do with medicine, IT, that SMEs may operate in, you find that there's scarcity of labor. Although what I've seen is that a lot of SMEs have become innovative in the way they now recruit staff, allowing work from home or work from any country, contract, consulting, outsourcing. Those are some of the things that they've done to bridge those gaps. I would say that in the areas of agri and where you require low skills, low technical skills, they may not have witnessed such significant losses in human capital, but it's affecting, across the country. You will see that that loss in brain drain is really affecting businesses, especially in the area of human capital.
I would say a lot of Nigerians are, getting jobs, from outside the country, remote jobs, that is, and while still, living here in Nigeria. How is that, impacting in any way?
Yeah. So it has both its good and bad. First of all, it helps expand, our ability to earn foreign currency. So you're still here, and some of the work you're doing, you may be earning dollars, pounds, or and you may be in Nigeria and you're working in America, India. In fact, some of them also have multiple jobs, and so that helps to increase their income stream. But beyond even for the individual, it also exposes you to additional skills. So if, for instance, you're in Nigeria and you're working in any of the large companies like Alphabet, Google, and so on, you would be exposed to training, so and all sorts of courses, people all across the world. So you're learning skills as well that we can actually use here in Nigeria to develop our own skills and businesses and so on. So it does, there's two sides of the coin. There's a bad side if there's no give back into society, but where skills are improving and you have access to superior education that maybe we cannot get in Nigeria, then it helps to increase the skill base. So I would actually even advocate that maybe those who are working here have an immediate short-term positive effect than those who actually relocate and may not come back.
All right. What sectors would you say are most impacted, by this talent shortage?
Yes, certainly. I think the one everyone knows about is the medical industry, from nurses to lab technicians, doctors. I mean, every day, almost every day, you read on WhatsApp and newspapers talk about the number of doctors. Just the UK alone um, signs up Nigerian doctors. So there is a significant shortage of doctors. I think I was reading in one place where they said there was one doctor to 100,000 Nigerians or something like that. So it clearly shows the shortage in the health industry. The second one I would say is the IT technology software development. But the software development is not as bad as medicine because, as you had said earlier, you could actually be in Nigeria and be working and providing those skills. So, and then, with technology, anywhere you're in the world, you can give back. But a doctor has to see a patient. So typically, like you're removing them. But even though in medicine too, what I've seen, especially is where doctors go, but they then come back to establish hospitals or do visitation so that those skills that they too are learning where they have gone to are then brought back. Because I'm sure, especially like in Lagos, you will see all these large internationally hospitals with international standard being set up, and typically they are usually set up by doctors who were in diaspora who have come back. So that's one of the things that we have seen. So it depends on how a country or an individual relates to that immigration or in terms of labor. If it brings back skills, if it helps us to develop our skills, have access to better quality education, new innovations, understand what other people are doing, and we then come back. So that's why patriotism to the country is important. So that yes, you may go get better skills, get better jobs, raise capital, but then come back to Nigeria to invest because Nigeria is a land of opportunity. Yes, we could do better with the enabling environment, electricity, power, all the infrastructure issues, security, but you'll find that you have greater opportunity here. Even just the population alone, you will find that, I mean, with 200 million plus people, anything you want to set up, you will have customers for. And if you now have gone abroad, gained skills, gained capital, you then have a higher rate of success when you come back.
We do need a high level of skilled workers, in the country. How long do you think it would take to fill, most of these positions?
Well, that's is anybody's guess. Is anybody's guess. One of the things that we have noticed that a lot of people want to go abroad for their postgraduate degree. So they've done a first degree in Nigeria, and then they want to go abroad for a postgraduate degree. So postgraduate degree is usually about 2 years. We estimate that they would then work abroad for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and then come back to Nigeria, typically because they may hit a glass ceiling, those issues of either being now the CEO or partner. It's not only that there's a limit to where somebody who is not from the country can get to, but there is a limit to who can be a CEO. In a company that employs 5,000 people, only one, or some places like in America, may have two CEOs, but that is it. So there's limited positions. So one of the things we do in my bank is support those who want to go abroad with loans and funding so that they can do that training, go for a year or two for your masters, work 3 or 4 years, and then come back to Nigeria. We did a study of looking at the top companies in Nigeria and seeing where did their CEOs and top management study. And we found that 65% of them had a postgraduate degree outside of Nigeria that was funded. So yes, we may say that, okay, no, it's not only people who go abroad who become CEO, but it certainly helps. So that's one of the things that we feel that we can do, that, okay, provide funding, all the things that you need to be able to go abroad and then come back. We encourage people to come back to Nigeria and establish these world-class organizations. As we've seen, I don't want to be mentioning the different companies, but if you look at those companies that we've seen have become what we call unicorns, typically they're set up by Nigerians in diaspora who have come back to Nigeria with the knowledge, with the capital that is required to set it up. So there could be some pluses. And, of course, when you think about remittances as well, is our second largest FX generating revenue in Nigeria. So that's one other area to that is a plus.
We've seen, most of these unicorns raise record amounts, from in funding. But elections are around the corner. What would you like to see, from the next administration in tackling these issues?
Well, number one, there should be increased investment in education. If you look at studies over the years, we have consistently have reducing percentage of our budget invest as a percentage of the entire budget invested in education. And as a percentage of GDP, it has consistently been below 1%, whereas UNICEF recommends at least 6% of your GDP invested in education. So one of the key things I would like to see the new administration do is increase investment in education. But beyond even that increased investment is what are we investing in? What areas are we investing in? Primary and secondary education, yes, is typically funded by state government, but most of these states lack the capacity to be able to provide free education as well as the infrastructure to set up a school that can train a child for the 21st century, for the future of work. So at federal level too, we want them to support states to be able to support primary and secondary education, not only universities. I know that even university education is complaining about inadequate funds, but I actually feel that universities should be allowed to generate revenue. For instance, one thing may be controversial, like if you take JAM, for instance, everybody pays to do JAM exam, it goes to the federal pockets, then we hear all sorts of stories about how the money is lost. But if the universities were conducting those entrance exams and charging fees for that, then it goes towards the revenue that the university can earn directly, and they make money and of course improve the training that they are able to give. So I think that we need universities being able to generate their own income. If you look at universities abroad, they're doing executive education, things that are commercial ventures that earn them money, and they use that to then be a subsidy for education in terms of degrees and so on. So those are some of the reforms I would want to see in universities. And of course, establish scholarships. There's nothing wrong in supporting Nigerians to study abroad, especially where those skills may not be readily available in Nigeria. So enable scholarships so that they can school abroad. The network, when you talked about fintechs bringing in significant levels of funding. It's not only that they are doing good business, that's one key thing, but it's because they have the network and it's because they've studied abroad. Maybe they were probably in the same class with those who are now fund managers. And so they know that, okay, yes, we've built trust. This person has been exposed to our systems and we can invest. So I do feel that those sort of things should be encouraged to enable people gain skills all over the world without restriction and improve our own education system. It should be a flagship, a key pillar for anybody aspiring to become president or the ruling party.
All right. Well, let's look at the Naira redesign policy now. That's getting closer and closer. What impact are you seeing for SMEs?
Well, it's very controversial because I was listening also to your news item and the debate at the assembly on the Naira redesign. So, of course, it may give some bottleneck to some SMEs who deal in cash. Largely now, most SMEs that I know that are in Lagos, they'll have a lot of, I mean, they do transfers. I was even surprised if you go to the open market, you can transfer to the fish seller for her to actually get paid for her items that she's selling, and not only that you pay cash. But it's true that a lot of SMEs will typically deal in cash. So that inconvenience of change, going to the bank, queuing to change money may also be restricted. But I think it will help more people become financially included and use digital means of payments, because towards the deadlines, nobody will want to be accepting the old design. So maybe transfers and using electronic means of payment would become more rampant. So that would be a plus. But overall, I'm hoping that the way the banks would implement it and the CBN would reduce the cost of SMEs, because especially when you start thinking about SMEs in the far north or outside of urban centers would have to travel long distances to get to banks to change their money and so on and so forth. And I hope that the CBN would also consider an extension of time to ensure that they actually allow people to be able to change their money, especially those whose cash are genuine, that they can actually change them on time and with little hassle.
Right. Well, we hope the good money gets into the banks in due time. Thank you so much. That was Ms. Bumi Lawson, MD, founder, Edfin Microfinance Bank. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having me here.